Get the Amo.
All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We all know why we are here. I'm not going to bore you with any. I'm just going to introduce the main presenter for this afternoon's event. And then after that, I'll be Q&A. And we'll take your questions after the presentation. So, Mike Simmons is going to lead this process, this first phase. And then afterwards, we'll take on questions. There are a number of CSOs that are here, so we'll acknowledge them.
No movement.
Thank you. All right, over to you, Bright.
Thank you very much, Franklin. Can everyone hear me? Yeah. Okay, thank you. First of all, our apologies for the delay, but we had a whole manner of issues with the equipment that have now been resolved. Okay, thank you. So as Franklin has mentioned, most of you are aware because you got an invitation that we're going to discuss the issue around the Electoral Commission and this decision to compile a new register and buy a new technological infrastructure. Now, most of the things you are going to hear today, some of you may have heard some of it. But the reason why we thought it was really critical that we convene this assembly is because for a long while, most of what IMANI has been doing is writing text, 14-page, 20-page, and you're all very busy people. So we have begun to realize that it's very likely that most of you have not actually read carefully the arguments that IMANI is putting forth, why the issue should be very careful on the course that is charting. The purpose of this meeting is to very carefully, using graphical, visual, and oral information, take you through why we think the EC's approach is extremely problematic. So we're going to go through step by step, and we're still going to be done in 30 minutes. So bear with me. I'll go straight to the point. In order for you to put into perspective how expensive Ghana's elections have become, cast your eye to the country that colonized us and is also a democracy, the United Kingdom, and look at how much they spend on elections and compare it to how much we spend on elections. You'll quickly discover that we are spending up to 4 times per voter what the UK does. So it costs Ghana 4 times what it costs the UK to enable one citizen to vote. 4 times. This is a far richer country. It's been doing this democracy thing for much longer. Why does it cost Ghana 4 times? You may make the argument that, well, it cost Ghana 4 times because maybe it's Africa, the issues are more complicated. Whatever it is, the purpose must be because we want elections that are free and fair. So the quality of the elections that they are free and they are fair. And maybe this expenditure, this massive amount of money we are spending, is relevant and useful because the quality of the election that we want, we are getting. So we are getting value for money. I'm going to take you through a process of discovery, during which you will come to understand that the money that we are spending is not necessarily because we are getting good quality in return. By the time I'm through, I hope to convince you that a lot of this spending is due to waste. Quick point, because if you even adjust for many of the reasons why the UK is not Ghana, and you compare to other parts of the world, you still find that on average, we are spending between 3 and 4 times what the rest of the world is spending. Terms, so you can understand the position that we've been making all along, much better than you've ever done. Here is the UCC's case. And if you want to describe the cost of technology, as far as elections are concerned, we are concerned with two main things. The technology that is used to run the elections and the registration process. The EC's case that you've heard all along can be summarized very simply along these lines. They say that the existing biometric infrastructure, and I'll explain what that means. What is the technology that we use to run elections in this country? They say that the existing technology system we have for running elections in this country is so old and so broken down and therefore so useless that if you went to pick it up and threw it out of the window, send it to Colette and just grind it in the landfill and went to buy a completely new one, you will still save money. That is the argument that the EC is making. The EC is also making the argument that the cost of registering everybody, the 17 million people that we suspect are qualified voters, the cost of registering all of them afresh is not that much more, or actually may actually be less than registering only those who have turned 18 this year or those who have not had the opportunity to register in the past. So when you combine those 2 points, they are trying to say that it makes a lot of sense to move away from the existing system because you actually save money. And they've actually put a number to how much you save. It's about $38 million. So if by changing the system to a new one, brand new, and registering everybody afresh so we can keep away all these ghost names, you can end up spending less and saving $38 million. How can anybody oppose such an idea? You must be extreme nation wreckers to be opposed to the EC. If they had left the situation there, I doubt that any of you will have had any interest whatsoever in what we're going to say. But before I can explain to you why everything that the EC has said in respect of this matter, almost every single thing is a palpable lie, I have to take you through in a very quick way, what we mean when we say technology for running elections in Ghana. The technology for running elections in Ghana is divided roughly into about 7 main parts, and I'll run through them. You will see that this section, where the dot is what normally you hear of as the BVR, the Biometric Voter Registration Kit. To be entirely honest, there's nothing complicated about it. It's a laptop, a printer for printing the ID card, a scanner, and a camera. You add all of it together, you have the BVR. And they pay about $3,500 to $4,000 for this. Think of it carefully. That is the BVR. They put it in a suitcase so you can move it around village to village, town to town, doing registration. That is it. Then you have the second major feature, something that we often call the BVD. That is simply what you use to confirm that the person whose name is in the register and whose fingerprint is in the register is indeed the person standing before you. You do that often twice, during the exhibition of the register and during voting. That really, more or less, are the key components of the technology. Additional components include the software in which you are storing all the fingerprints and which is doing the comparison to determine if the person that is standing before you is the person who they say they are. Then you've got the VSAT system, because when you go into these villages and you do the registration, you have to send all the data to Accra. So you need some satellites that can send all that data to Accra. More or less, there's also a data center, which is a central computer system in which all of this data is sitting, etc. More or less, that is the technology system which we use to run elections in this country. And the one that they say, I think there are things happening.
Move on to presentation mode.
So, now, the EC's case is that when you take this specific system and you buy a completely new set of laptops The laptops typically are around 5,500. Now they are thinking of going to 8,500, but it gives you a certain perspective. These laptops with printer, the rest that costs around 3,500 to 4,000. They'll buy around 8,000 of them, send them to different registration areas, and people will go there and register. That's more or less what we are talking about here. They are saying that you can take all of these, every single one that they have now, and throw all of them away. Take every single one of these, throw all of them away, wipe away the software, throw away the satellites, buy a completely new system, and if you did that, you will still save this country $38 million. Where did they get this from? They said that they've gone and asked the people that maintain the existing system. And they've told them that if they were to refresh it and refurbish it, because it's too old, remember? If they were to refresh it and improve it, it would cost 74 million. But if they buy a new one, it will be 56 million. And I've already explained the point they have made about the registration. So if you add all that together, you save about $38 million. That's what we are going to go into in very clear detail. Because in this country, people have a tendency of putting words in people's mouths. I just wanted you to see the EC's own way of putting the point that I've just made. They've told you that if you buy the BVR and the BVD for the existing one and you try and improve it by refurbishing or whatever, this is what it will cost. If you get a whole new system, this is what it will cost. This is the savings that you will make. So this is the savings you make on technology alone. And they've also made the point that when it comes to registration, the cost in 2012 of doing a new register cost a certain amount. In 2015, just registering those who have now 10 of age cost a certain amount. So when you compare it, registering only those who have 10, 18 and those who still are not on the register is more expensive. And therefore, doing the whole registration again is cheaper. And when you combine all of that, you save another $20 million. So in total, we're now talking about $38 million. How did they arrive at the conclusion that the existing system is so bad that even attempts to repair it will cost more? They said that because the system has been used since 2011, when we bought them. And since we bought the system in 2011 up to now, we've not changed it. This is the EC's own words. You see, this is a PowerPoint they presented to CSOs. Most of you may have seen this circulated in your media houses. So it's a very simple argument. We bought the thing in 2011. It's almost 10 years now. It's been so old that when you try and repair it, it costs more money. So let's buy a new one. That's really the EC's case. So let's delve into it. And for both the BVR and the BVD, which I have just explained to you, think of them as one is like a mobile phone that can authenticate your hand. The other is like a laptop which you use to register. Think of it roughly like that. Good. What we are saying at the core of our argument is that that is not true. End of story. The argument that the system is so old that if you try and refresh it, it will cost more is not true. In fact, if you try to refresh the existing system, you try and refurbish it, buy a few new ones, and take out only the ones that are truly broken, you will not spend more than $15 million. And if you try and do a registration of only those who have 10, 18, you will not spend more than $20 million. Why? It is very simple. You will register about 2 million new people. If you try and register 70 million voters all over again, you just have to hire more people. You have to buy more material, and it takes longer. So it just costs more. Anybody who will try and convince you that it doesn't cost more doesn't have any regard for the truth. End of story. But we are going to give you more evidence than that, because we've just also put out a number. How are we getting these numbers? There are places in this country where every single dollar, every single CD of public money you spend, records get generated somehow. In all of these debates, I think those of you in the media should have gone for some of this information. Because some people were putting another set of numbers, and other people were putting another set of numbers. But in order not to, because I know you are busy, in order not to waste more of your time, we've gone and done that for you. We've gone to the Ministry of Finance's records, because don't forget, all the EC's money is the tax. Every time you buy soap, there is some VAT and whatever on it. All that money is what has been aggregated, and some of it is being sent to the EC to run the election. The Ministry of Finance is the one that releases that money through the accountant general, control accountant general, the rest. So they have a record of how much money is being spent by the EC. And for the EC to get that money, they must tell them what they are using the money for. In 2016 and 2018, the EC went to the Ministry of Finance and collected money to buy, as you can see here, 500 new BVR and spent additional money on biometric systems. 2018, they went and bought 2,000 more of these devices. That's 2,500 a row. Now, remember what I said? We started with around 5,500 of these devices. They've added on top of these devices new ones that they bought, right? How can you, after having done that, then come out and say that the system is so old because the whole system dates from 2011? That's like you must put to the EC. Because either the Minister of Finance, somebody said, you see, when you look carefully here, you will see that it says that past years, what was spent in 2016 and 2017, and that is where this is lodged. Here it says past years, and it says 2018, this is how much you bought. Either somebody said they've given this money to the EC to buy 2,000 laptops, each accompanied with a printer, a camera, and a scanner, and that somehow that money didn't go to the EC, and somebody kept that millions of dollars at the Ministry of Finance, or the EC is lying. One of them must be lying. Ministry of Finance or the EC. Because if the system entirely dates from 2011, and we have records showing that we are buying more and more of them 2016 and 2018, then somebody is lying to Ghanaians. It's a very simple argument. If you accept the argument you are making that we trust the data from the Ministry of Finance, but they are politicians, right? And sometimes politicians also do funny things. Auditor General. The EC is a public agency. When they say we are independent, it doesn't mean that because they are independent, when they take our money, nobody should go and take a look. That's why they are audited. That is why the EC cannot sack somebody and say because we are independent, we sack them without cause. The person can go to court or go to the labor court or go to the labor commission. So despite their independence, they are subject to all the public sector regulations and constraints that every other agency is subject to. And that is why they are audited. And when they are audited, you can see from 2016 that they are spending a lot of money on this biometric stuff. You see, voter management system upgrade and rollout training. Voter management system is the software that sits in the district office that they use to register people and keep their names and do identification, etc., etc. And look how much they are spending: $1.15 million. April 2016. You can see that they did some preparation of BVD and ancillary service. They spent what? $14 million. This is money we are talking about, too. Buying laptops and repairing laptops and things like that. $14 million. This was 2016. Look at how much they spent on the BVR case that they are saying that are completely obsolete. $2 million. For the same biometric equipment, $10 million. These are all 2016. Releasing $40 million on a system they say is obsolete because in 2011 there will be no investment in it. When the Auditor General's audited account statement say otherwise. We also now have parliamentary, Franklin said that we're going to have new disclosures. We also now have parliamentary oversight documents that show that members of parliament that sits on the oversight committee, something called the special budget committee, are aware of these purchases because it's captured in their reports. And we'll share some of that data with you, including the pages where you can capture them in the names of those reports. So not only is the EC complicit in this matter, we are now seeing a situation where members of parliament who know for sure that the EC take this money and buy this equipment, sit in this country, and some of them actually go on radio stations defending the EC. You have to ask yourself why. We call it state capture. So the person or the individual responsible for placing the EC under oversight is on radio stations as a legislator, and his primary job is defending the EC. Makes no sense. Your job as a legislator is to say, well, they came before us and they made these claims, we asked them these questions, they gave these answers, and that's why I need this equipment for. And this is not necessarily this administration. This has been going on for years. And it turns out that we are spending too much. And it's not that difficult to think about. You all have laptops. You all have an idea what a laptop costs, what a camera costs, what a scanner costs. And you put it together and add a printer. When somebody tells you that's $3,500 to $4,000, you don't have to be a genius. You don't have to have a PhD. You have to start wondering, are we really getting value for money? $4,000 for some laptop and printer and this thing, there's something in there. And it's not therefore surprising that even countries like Zimbabwe and the like get it far cheaper than we do. We are spending almost 3 times more Zimbabwe what Zimbabwe does. When you add all that up, it comes to this simple conclusion. Since 2011, it's a lie that we've not bought any new equipment and everything dates back to 2011. We spent millions of dollars. From the parliamentary record, we see almost $80 million since then buying new things, refurbishing old things. So if we have to do anything, we just have to do a few more repairs, a little bit more maintenance, maybe buy a few 200 here, 300, etc., etc. And it will not get you to the $74 million that they told you you need if you want to improve or maintain the current system. End of story. It will cost you far less. If we allow them to continue doing what they are doing, then as I've explained to you, it will mean that this is the amount of losses this country has to rack up. Almost $150 million, because it's not only the new hardware that you are buying, you are also buying new software. Remember, the tender that they just did was only for hardware. They did another tender for software, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But there's another interesting point. Remember the argument they made? They said if you buy a new system, you spend only about 56 million. And it will cost you 74 million to repair and to maintain. Where did they get that 56 million from? They were doing a tender. That tender, they have seen some numbers already, and it was evident that that was not the number. What it will actually cost them to procure new systems is what was revealed when the tender ended, and that was about $72 million. So there too, they clearly lied to you. It was not $56 million. In fact, either they made that number up, or they threw it in the air deliberately to confuse you and to deceive you. On top of that, we also know they're going to spend on software. And if you add all of that, you add contingency, the unnecessary registration of 17 million people all over again, you are getting to close to $150 million of you and I's money being blown for reasons that nobody can explain in this country. Yeah, some of you may be saying, yeah, you're for this IMANI people book long, you don't want to go and register small to look at all these numbers. But money is not everything. We will grant you that. The world is not all about money. Yeah, that's $100 million. If they spend a little bit of it on dialysis machines for Ghana, we'll do much better. If you ask people what is the waiting period for dialysis machines in Ghana, you'll be shocked. The whole country does not have even more than 150 dialysis machines. Yes. If you have somebody who has a kidney problem, ask them the waiting period to get dialysis. And when you get that dialysis, how much it costs. This amount of money, the $150 million, can bring Ghana's kidney management program to the WHO's best practice. So think of it, it's not just money, but we'll grant you that money is not everything. And we'll move on and say, is it possible that the actions of the EC can now go beyond losing money and start to affect the quality of our election? Some of you may say that is more important to me because democracy is expensive, so maybe we should just spend a little bit more and get better quality. And even if there are things or money left and right, or they are doing whatever with the money and I don't know for sure, let's just get the election going. Our second point to you is that in addition to cost, there's also risk. And particularly the risk that because of their actions, the elections we are going to have, not even not this year, secondly, the year after, may be far less quality and stable than what we've had before. Why? We'll go through it. Usually when you want to look at risk, you want to look at the dimensions, the places through which that risk can come. So if you buy a car and you are drunk, the drunkenness can lead you to get in an accident. It's a risk factor. We are going to focus on only one risk factor because we don't have time. And we'll show you why that risk factor is sufficient to explain the problem. It's the risk factor of newness. New things. New things tend to be more problematic. What do I mean by that? The existing system that we've had it for long enough that we've learned to use it very well. If you go and buy a new system and you don't install and implement it properly, you can create more problems. And I'm going to give you evidence for it. Don't just take my word for it. So our argument is that the risk of the new platform, re-registering everybody, is far more than using a system that has delivered so many elections since 2012. And our first piece of evidence, using the observer data reports. Remember, every time we have an election, you have these UU people, we have our own people called Codeo, go around and they inspect and they file reports. IMANI has mined each and every one of those reports and studied reports about breakdowns in polling stations. And we find out in 2012, when we first implemented this biometric solution, 33% of polling stations had problems. In fact, if you remember, in 2012, in some situations, it was so bad that we postponed the election for one more day. Remember that time? Yeah. It's the only time it has happened, the only time it has ever happened, because it was a brand new system. In 2016, we had learned to use the system a bit more. It dropped down to 7.5%. In 2019, when we did the district election, the number of polling stations where you had the breakage went down to 5%. That tells you something. It tells you we're getting better at using the system, and therefore we're having fewer and fewer failures. If you implement a whole new system, you may lose that knowledge that has led to a reduction of the failure rate. We also know that the EC said some people, when you put your finger on, even if though it's you, the system says it's not you, and they have to do manual verification. And we have had a number of those episodes. So it means that the machines are getting old, and we have to buy new machines. Let me explain in very quick terms. I'm going to give you a crash course in biometric technology. Last just 2 seconds. Take your finger. There's a fingerprint. Assume that the fingerprint is just 100 points. There's 100 points on your finger. And the system tries to pick up those points to see if it's you or not. And if it's 98, it will allow it. If it's 95, it will allow it. Let's say if it's 92, it says no, it's not you. Think of it that way. What are the conditions under which it may not be 92 or 99? Maybe there's a cut on your finger. Maybe there was some grease. Maybe there was some dust. So every biometric system you have by nature cannot be 100%. Because your finger doesn't stay 100% what it is, right? Now you have to set the system to say, if it's 85, allow it. If it's 70, don't allow it. That brings in an element of discretion. Our argument is that it's over time that we've learned what is the right balance to enable enough people who are truly who they are to qualify, and those who are not to reject it. That gives you 2 principles. If you make it too high, if you say if it's not 99 of all the points, reject the person. If somebody has 2 cuts and so 2 points are missing, the system will say no. If you make it too low and it's 70, 2 people can begin to look alike and therefore they can pass through the system. That is what you are generally fighting about. So, simple point. If the EC says that only 0.6% of people could not be verified by the machine, you have to compare it with other systems in the world. And we've done that, and we found out that in India, it can go as high as 5%, in Indonesia, as high as 3%. So our less than 1% is perfect. Because it's a probabilistic system. You can't get 100% ever. The fingerprint will never stay the same throughout the person's life, because even if you put palm oil on it, it can change it a little bit. But it also shows you that you have to set a level which is acceptable. Because if you set it too high, you lose people. Now that setting process, I'm arguing, is happening over a number of years through trial and error, because we don't have an explicit policy in Ghana that says this is the threshold. And if you start all over again, you have to relearn all that processes. And we know from other countries that every time you implement a new biometric system, you have problems. In Nigeria, when they implemented their very first one, the system rejected the president of Nigeria. We know that in Kenya, when they tried to implement their very first one, it's so bad that they abandoned it and left the system and just went back to the old system. We know that if you go to a place like Afghanistan, it goes so bad they couldn't see what to do. They had to invite the people that actually made the machines to fly from Germany and come to Afghanistan. It took them 64 days to release results. So new systems generally cause more problems. In the same way with data, registering new people all over again versus using the existing data and clean it up. You cannot tell me that registering people all over again, 17 million people in 36,000 different locations in this country, will be smoother than that. I'm getting towards the end. And this is where a lot of you have been waiting for, because this is where, for most of you, we are. Because the EC said they will go ahead and do it, notwithstanding anything all of us have said. So they've gone ahead and they've done some tenders. But here is where the risk begins. If the tender that they do, because you are buying something new, if you do it shabbily and you do it without care, you can buy something that causes more problems. So we have to look at how the EC is buying the new system as well, even if you don't agree with them. And the way that they are buying the system is through the tender. And we've evaluated the tender carefully and we want to give you a short narration for you to judge for yourself. They published the tender in April 2019. Some people came, some of the best companies in the world, they said, oh, we'll do this for you, we'll do this for you, and we'll charge this amount. They easily looked at all of it and said, for some reason, we don't like what we are seeing, and then they canceled the tender. Then they reissued it again in August. The same set of people came, and different vendors came. They said, we'll do this for you, we'll do this for you, we'll charge this amount. It went on till around December, 4 months of evaluation. Then the committee settled on some people. The EC also started writing to the committee saying, we like these companies. This is a tender. We like these companies. We think these are the companies that should go. Eventually, they managed to get some 4 companies through. and then send it to the Public Procurement Authority. But they had strong, and the members of the tender committee to the point where the chairman of that committee was not willing to have his name associated with the process. So the EC got angry, set up a whole new committee, started the tender all over again, starting on 10th January 2020. On 13th January, they met to establish their term of reference. On 17th, they invited the companies to come back. On 18th, they held the demonstrations and the technical evaluation. And then on 19th, because they are magical and they are greatest geniuses in the world, they already had the winner. $72 million carrying home. That's literally what happened. Now they do that, and now they have this winner. We say, okay, we don't like how you did it, but maybe you still got the right person. But what are the people that lost, and why did they lose, and things like that? So we started reading the document. They said, oh, the companies that lost, there was one that was very good, called Smartmatic. But as for this company, we went to do some research about them, and they have some reputational issues. One of them was that in Philippines, the president of the Philippines was angry with them and the Electoral Commission of that country. And the Attorney General said, we even do investigations. So when we look at that, we are suspicious of their track record. It didn't sound very sensible, because politicians make accusations about everybody all the time. But well, maybe the others didn't have anything at all, so maybe this little thing isn't interesting. We said, okay, let's look at the one that actually won. A company called Thales. Now, this company is a French company. So we started digging into this company. We found out that in 2004, 2005, the company was blacklisted by the World Bank globally for corruption. We said, this is serious. I mean, of all the companies, is the one that got blacklisted that you want? We started digging. It's like a pattern. It's an amazing pattern. It's an amazing pattern. And I'll show you a few. This is a company that today, it's under investigation in South Africa for bribing President Zuma and his people. This is a company that's under active investigation today, has been found guilty after a proper procedural effort in South Africa. This is a company that in Gabon was more or less run out of that country by NGOs because they went to corrupt the electoral process there. This is a company that in Cambodia got itself into trouble again with the World Bank. This is a company that went to Estonia to do ID cards for them. Remember, this company has bought a company called Gemalto. So when I say Thales and Gemalto, I'm talking about the same company. Gemalto was bought by Thales. This is a company that went to Estonia, told them they can do ID cards for them. Did something so bad that the government couldn't use it. And the government is suing them 150 million euros. My argument is not that if you are like this, you shouldn't get a contract in the world. My argument is that you cannot say one company has reputational risk because somebody threatened them in Philippines, and then you choose a winner which has reputational risk that even Satan will be scared of. It doesn't make sense. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you can go and do business with Thales, a big French company that has billions of dollars. But if the point upon which you're going to disqualify that company's reputational risk, you can't use this. End of story. On top of that, if you compare this Thales and the Smartmatic company that they say have problems, there's no comparison in terms of who has experience when it comes to electoral technology. Smartmatic, almost 21 projects. Thales, almost 7 projects. Half of which I've explained to you, mired in corruption scandals. In fact, in one case in Benin, just next door Benin, the Electoral Commission of Benin, there was an MP who also sits on the Electoral Commission of Benin. This person has a shell company. He has registered a company, but he doesn't actively run it. It was receiving money from Gemalto while Gemalto was still pursuing contracts and already had won contracts in Benin. When it was revealed, he said, oh, he doesn't manage it actively through a trust, so he doesn't see what the problem is. Why are you paying people that sit on electoral commissions in Benin? And my argument is that if you have such a company, and after all of this, it's like it's a secret, you still like them, but you don't like the other company that has more track record because you say somebody threatened them in the Philippines, then you have something shady going on. The biggest issue of all, 18th April 2020. Everybody should go and register. We are saying it here and today that the EC cannot use a new system to conform to that timeline. It's not possible, and we'll explain why. So if the EC goes ahead and does it, then it will not be using the new system properly configured. There must be some shortcuts that they have discovered, which is going to enable them. But if you want to do the proper thing, it's not possible. It's possible that they have some shortcuts. The danger in shortcuts must be obvious to all of you. And that is where we hope you will start asking the questions. What is the shortcut that is going to enable them to get us a new system in April 18, which is less than 6 weeks away? And I'll tell you why that is not possible, if they want to do it properly. If I am a technologist, I build technology. If you want to build software platform that can manage 25 million voters, that is the spec they have set, because Ghana will increase in population, 25 million voters. There are 36,000 polling stations, 8,000 electoral registration areas. It's a distributed system. Software sitting on devices all over the place, all of them being centralized, etc., etc., etc. If you really want to do such a system, can you use 6 weeks to build such a system? How much does it take to do a project on Excel for your finances? Think of it carefully. You need to do specification. This is the system you want. Look at all the documentation issues. You need to go and have people start to develop. You have to test. You have to do field tests. If there are issues, you need to review. How possible can you do that in 6 weeks? How long have you been working on our e-visa systems at the airport? At the very least 2 years for the current generation. So think about it carefully. If somebody says that up to now, they've not finished with the tender process for the hardware, when it comes to the software, they did the same thing they did with the hardware. They published the tender in October 13th. The result that they got, they didn't like, so they cancelled it. So it did become a pattern. When they don't like, they cancel. They decided that I think this one should do sole sourcing. Now, nobody knows for a fact where they are in that software tender. Let's say they complete it next week. You now have what? Less than 5 weeks left. How are you going to build a completely new software platform to sit on 8,500 devices, test as many of them as possible, go to the field and evaluate them, etc., etc.? We say it is not humanly possible. If in building a little website, those of you who have built websites in this audience before, it doesn't take 5 weeks. What does that mean? What that means is this. If the EC does not become transparent and answer some hard questions, how are you going to configure this system and get it ready before April 18th when you've not finished your tender process? When there are accusations that you are so sourcing a system after the tender failed to give you the outcome. When there are allegations that the people that did the bidding, that you are now trying to go back to the same tallies and give them the software as well as the hardware, when you yourself have made a policy that you won't want one company to control both the software and the hardware, and when people are suspicious that if you do that, it makes it easy for the system to be manipulated, and therefore there's political concern. If all of these issues are not resolved, how are you in 5 weeks going to implement such a system, run all the tests, and then tell people to walk out there and go and vote? We think they will use a shortcut. We don't know what shortcut it is. But if you are following best practices, if you are being objective and transparent, if you are being thoughtful, careful, diligent, you will not use a shortcut. You will do the proper thing. That means that the software specification will be properly developed and verified and vetted. That means that the vendor that has been selected will meet stakeholders and do demonstrations, etc., etc., etc. You will not do tenders that you cancel when they don't go your way. You will put information out so people are fully aware, where are we, how are we going to get there, what's the timeline, the roadmap, etc. Because the EC has demonstrated a complete disinterest in doing things properly, we argue that they are likely to use a shortcut, and that shortcut will bring us problems, if not in this election, in subsequent elections. Remember, they said they came to meet a mess. They said the system that they came to meet was so bad that they had to throw it all away and buy a new one. Yet, you have 81 IT professionals who have been sitting there since that thing was procured. Why are you at this stage that you are claiming you want to repair that system, doing things that are even worse than the previous administration? Because at least the previous administration commissioned an audit of the system and were given a path. What independent audits have you commissioned? Why is that the people that you brought on board as consultants to help you navigate the procurement process are actually now being exposed as people with contracts in the EC. You've all heard the issue of Fair Green and their famous CEO, whose company is trying to get business at the EC, but at the same time is advising the EC how to implement the system. Now, when somebody comes to you who has an interest in getting your money and getting a contract, and he tells you your existing system is completely useless, throw it away, how can any objective, sensible person say this is rational? So these are the questions that we believe you must put to the EC. And you must force a national debate, not only because this money should not be thrown away. This is money that can do so much good. We're talking of millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. If you share this money to everybody in Ghana, they'll get $5. That's how crazy the situation is. So it's a significant amount of money. Now, on top of that, there are huge projects we can do in this country. We are waiting for China to bring us money to go and do roads. Right? So, that is a problem. But on top of that, it's also the integrity of our elections and maintaining the free and fair nature of those elections. I think it's beholden on all of us to compel the EC to do the right thing. Thank you very much.
So we'll take questions right now. Right, just keep it there, then we'll take questions.
No, it's fine.
So questions? Questions? Yes, your name?
Questions coming from only the media or
Anybody.
Media civil society.
We can hear you, so if you project.
My name is Google Yembe. Yes, I haven't heard the presentation. EC is ready to go ahead and do the recession on the 18th. Right. Also, the company which have awarded the contract to, or which have won the bid, are in the process of completing the software, both the software and the hardware.
Can you ask your question?
Yes. My question is, this is very, 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 very dangerous. Let me put it this way. In case on the 18th, EC announces that, or on the 18th, it has been announced that we should go out and register. And we are going out to register.
Dennis.
Right?
Yes, I'm listening.
Yes.
Please,
Okay.
can you ask your question now?
I want to know whether my good brother is saying that it's not possible because of the time frame and the shortcut. Can you better let us know maybe if you have any possible idea concerning shortcut? The shortcut I don't really understand.
What I'm saying is that there is always a proper way to do things,
Yeah.
and there are always improper ways to do things.
Okay.
If you want to build software properly,
Yes.
you need to go through a process, and I showed you a chart.
I've seen the chart. That's
Good.
perfect.
Given the complexity of that software,
Yeah.
anybody will tell you that it takes at the very minimum 1 year to properly go through the process. I'm coming, let me answer you.
The shortcut. What does that really mean?
What I'm saying is that if you want to do it properly, talk about a year.
Okay.
If you have another mechanism to get it to 18th April, then that mechanism will not be best practice. Because it will not be best practice, we need to ask EC what is the mechanism that they intend to be able to get a software and hardware integration by 18th in 5 weeks.
It's not possible.
Sorry?
It's not possible.
So they must have a means because they've announced the date. And we want to know what is that means. Because it cannot be done properly. So they have to convince us that this shortcut that they have to get it to 18th is viable.
As the man has been able to adjust, also, there's what are possible to be done.
No, because the EC is not willing to answer our questions.
They're not ready.
They are not answering our questions. In fact, they've not met us. So they clearly are not interested in anything we have to say. So we don't know the mechanism. But you, the media, can compel them. You can say, look, have you finished your tender for both hardware and software, because they are separate systems, you need to integrate them. Have you done the integrations and the tests? We know from the record, the procurement record, that they haven't. So the next point then is, what mechanism are you going to take between now and 18th to get us that integration and testing done, to give us the assurance? It can't be asked because we cannot force the EC to answer questions, but you can, because that's your job. So the argument I'm making is that the media must compel the EC to tell us.
As a subtask now,
Okay, next question, please. Next question. Excuse me, the key speaking stations. Please don't wait for interviews. Ask your question as well. It speaks So please ask your questions now.
No, somebody will help with the trigger. We're going to help you.
Next question.
Next question, please.
He has questions.
There's no mic. Who wants to ask questions?
Otherwise, if they want to, they can come forward.
Those who want to ask questions, please come forward.
Or project from where you are.
Yes.
That's all.
I think you are blocking the cameras.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, my
Yes.
name is Sanafu, I work for the research line. What you are saying borders on fraud and corruption, if I may put that way. Now, what can the IMANI do? Can they tell the EC to court? And our second question, in the event of all this hullabaloo, that binds the EC and that it is not able to do the registration. And she also said that I cannot use the old machines. Where do we stand?
Okay. So when it comes to fraud and corruption, there are institutions in this country that are set up to determine that. We expect national security, the ordinary police, the CID and the rest to have an interest. We expect the Auditor General, the SHRAJ, the YOCO. Why have we set so many institutions up claiming that they are there to help fight fraud and corruption and abuse of power and unreasonable use of discretion? And yet still they don't seem to have anything doing when these matters rise up. So I think those institutions should be compelled to work. What IMANI can do and what we are about to start is moving away from just the advocacy to begin to put pressure on institutions that have been mandated to do this work to get that done. So that's the first point. The second point is that if the EC says that they cannot use the existing system for the ongoing registration, the limited registration that is left, we will refer them to the position that they presented before the relevant Parliamentary Oversight Committee when they met them in October 2019. When they were told, they were asked, 2018, when they were asked whether they can still manage to use the existing system even in the absence of a completely new system, they told that committee that they can. And we will make those records available for all those that are interested. So they have been asked repeatedly. It's just recently when they became almost fanatical about going ahead with this registration that they've changed their tune to say that they can't use this platform. But it's a very simple point. They just did district assembly elections with the same equipment. It's not that long ago. So we don't even have them, let them tell us. We have the evidence that they can use the system.
Okay. You please.
Yeah, please. My question is on your conclusion remarks that we should force EC to do the right thing. EC thinks going for new registration and voters registration is right. You saying EC should not go for the new voters registration is not right. So which one is the right thing that we are supposed to force the EC to do?
Okay, so I mean, if I understand your question correctly, you are saying that the EC has made a position, has taken a position, and that we have taken a contrary position.
Yeah.
I think the job of the media is to serve as a referee. So the EC has put some information out. We have put contrary information out. We are all taking our information from public records. In fact, if the EC that has not provided any public record, for instance, they have not provided a single biometric audit, a single equipment audit. In fact, when the Auditor General goes to the EC and does the normal auditing and you read their report about the EC, they say that the EC has never had a proper asset register that is up to date and is compliant with best practices since it was set up. So think of it, every year we spend millions of them. We spend almost $250 million or something like that in the last couple of years, decade and a half, buying equipment. When was the last time you heard the EC doing an auction that, oh, this cameras and these printers, they are a bit old, so we are buying new ones. These second-hand people come and collect them and go and use them. When was that time you saw the EC do an auction? So we have to start asking ourselves hard questions. Where is that? Where are those equipment? You bought equipment 2018. You said they are no longer good. Where are the equipment? Where are they going to go? All the ones that you've been buying the previous period that you've been replacing, where have they been going? those questions cannot be from civil society alone. The press must get interested. So my simple answer is this. The EC has said one thing, we have said another thing. But we've given conclusive evidence from parliamentary records, from the Auditor General's own account, and we've also given you logical accounts. They are buying this equipment every year. When was the last time they disposed of any of them through auctions? So what the media now has to do is to become the referee. You have to say, okay, this is the data, this is where they say they got it from. What are you saying? Because I don't think we can just say that because the EC says this and IMANI says this, we are lost. No, I think as media we are empowered. You are more than officers of the court of public opinion. As far as I'm concerned, you constitute the court of public opinion in the first instance. It is your job to say, we've heard you, we've heard them, but they have concrete evidence that you bought this equipment not too long ago. Why are you throwing them away for a new one? I don't think it's that difficult. Yes, please.
Next question, you.
Yeah, my name is Kojo Adjumani. I work with CIVIC.
Okay.
Please,
I'm Frank.
Paco, would you?
I'm Frank. My first, I have two questions.
Media house.
Independent newspaper. Yes. My question, the first question is, the ultimate means of enforcement is the court of law. Now, would you recommend any individual or institution, especially yourself, going to court to enforce what you think is right? That is the first question. Second question is, as political activists, what do you see happen post 2020 election? The EC stand hold. How will that proceed? What will happen?
Okay. My belief is that though the courtroom is one important area in which we resolve disputes in this country, it's not the only one. I just mentioned another type of court, the court of public opinion. In the notion that every time you have a disagreement with someone, you should go to court, will collapse this country. Imagine the number of cases that will be in court if every time that there was a dispute, everybody went to court. Even normal so-called corruption cases that are being prosecuted, how long do they take? Imagine if all of us to start marching to court every time we have a dispute. We'll close the country down. But the courts cannot work. So we have to accept that, yes, there are certain times when the courts are useful, but I don't accept the notion that the court is the only path. So will we use the courts? We are contemplating. We have legal advisors within our organization. We have legal advisors who are friends of IMANI. We are considering a range of options. Freedom of information, activity around reasonableness based on 296. We are considering them. We will continue to evaluate. However, remember that there are other actors that typically must act before you go to court. In a properly functioning society, the court is not the forum of first resort. It should be the forum of last resort. So if you have security agents in this country, and somebody says they are buying equipment, but they claim the equipment from 2011, they should be able to ask them questions too. So we will look into it. We are not saying that we're ruling it out, but you have to remember that it's a private organization that relies on very limited resources. Courts are not free. They cost a lot of money. So we will do our best within our limited circumstances. And we should all chip in. Why would we leave it all to IMANI to go and hire a lawyer, spend money in court, but we can all show them the power of the people? There are many and we are few.
Okay.
We are many and they are few.
Finish your follow-up quickly.
Yes, I know that one of the processes is taking an ex-party motion injunction behind the opponent and placing injunction on the opponent, and in about 10 days, putting say on notice. So I think there are other processes that.
I think I understand you. I mean, for the sake of time, these are things that are going to be examined outside here. Mr. Adjumani. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that there's a special budget committee in Parliament,
Exactly.
chaired by Oseche Mensah, majority there, and then the Vice Haruna Idrisu.
Right.
Have you made these documents available to them to get them to reason that we are treading on a dangerous path? And if you did, what was their posture?
I actually find the Special Budgets Committee's current silence and inability to enter the debate puzzling. Because actually, if you read their own reports, there is evidence of EC spending money in 2016 and 2018 in those reports. So the Special Budget Committee knows that the current system that we have, the technology system we have, does not date from 2011. They have allowed the EC to continue to make those claims because practically the way that they act is not through public advocacy, right? They act when the EC appears before them and they issue a set of recommendations. I have challenges with their recommendations, but this is not a forum to air those grievances. What I will say though is this: from their reports, the transparency that mechanism enables has helped us to come to the conclusion that the EC's claim that the system is obsolete because it dates from 2011 can't be true. Because we've seen evidence in those reports that shows that they've been refurbishing. Go to page 9 of the Special Budget Reports, Special Budget Committee's report for 2018, usually released in 2019, and find out, both page 8 and 9 in fact, and find out if you not see evidence of the EC telling them that in 2016 they refurbished as many as 7,500 BVRs. Then cross-check that with the Auditor General's report of the same period to see how much that must have cost. Then ask yourself a simple question. If in 2016 you spent millions of dollars to refurbish the machines, how can you in the public advocacy campaign tell everybody that the machines date from 2011? You see what I mean? So I'm saying that the Special Budget Committee itself has questions to answer.
All right, next question.
You have to take it up as well.
Can you take it up as well?
Could you?
This year.
Yeah.
The evidence.
The evidence is there. So okay.
My name is Parker Wilson. I represent them. You have established here now that there has been some procurement breaches, and of course rigging the tender process to suit one vendor. As a CSO, are you willing to push it further by probably petitioning the president, because we know that Madame Jimenez's predecessor was dismissed because of procurement breaches? Is IMANI willing to petition the president to look into this matter of the new voters register?
I mean, typically when you petition the president in that matter, you are seeking to remove the head of the institution. And typically the president's job is simply to convey the petition to the Chief Justice, who must set up a committee and the likes of it. That is not where we best serve society. Everybody must be determined where they best serve society. Your job as media is to be interested in one thing above everything else: the truth. The truth above everything else. Our job as civil society is to be interested in one thing above everything else: enlightenment. Our goal is that as a center for public education, by the time we are through, every single person who genuinely wants to understand this matter understands it. We are serving that cause. What we certainly are considering is the Public Procurement Authority, because in my view, they become so lax that too much is going on, that as an organization, as an agency of the state, they need to be able to put their feet to the ground and assert the authority. So we'll consider petitioning them.
So you want them to investigate this?
Absolutely, the PPA must definitely investigate this.
Okay.
But they have also approved certain things, so we have a fight with them as well. We will engage with them on both fronts.
Okay, your question, please.
Thank you very much. I'm not someone star. Just a quick follow-up on the issue of the Special Budget Committee.
Yes.
Would you say partisanship is clouding our sense of reason with regard to this issue?
Yes. The Special Budget Committee is certainly a creature of our multi-party politics. And there are people that are on that committee that are NDC and some that are MPP. So it's true that it's not always easy for them to build consensus on matters, and in that case, the lowest common denominator will win, because controversial matters will polarize them. But it's also true that in this country, we know we have a parliamentary system where members of parliament frequently sit on boards. Members of parliament are often serving on technical advisory committees. Members of parliament are often pushing for public-private partnerships that benefit particular companies, etc., etc. So there's a feature of our parliamentary system where the parliamentary core itself sometimes is not fit for purpose. You get my point? Because when you have a situation where you are a member of parliament, but you are sitting on a corporate board or you are sitting on an agency board, then you are accomplishing the decisions they take. How can you exercise true judgment? That notwithstanding, my view is that the partisanship does corrupt the ability to build truly effective consensus. Because otherwise, anything that's controversial polarizes them. But I think we should ask fundamental questions about the parliamentary process itself in this country. Whether you can continue to have MPs, continue to sit on boards and agency boards, continue to be active in pursuing, so that they are their own lobbyists. They are lobbying their own institutions, etc. Typically, you expect that MPs should be lobbied. So we have issues there as well. But that is not the purpose of this conversation. So I'll leave it at, yes, partisanship is an issue, but there's a bigger problem with the way the parliament itself behaves.
Okay, is there anyone for any of the three speaking stations to also ask a question in three if they want to? Next question. Is that all? Okay, then we'll conclude. Kofi.
Okay, so this handout gives you very useful information that you can follow through on. We've given you some hard information. Without even reading this, you can just ask. Ask the EC, have you spent more than $10 million in the last 2 years buying new equipment? Okay, so simple things, and that's why we prepared this. All right, so thank you very much for coming. If you have any questions on this, you can direct them to our website or the other numbers that you have for us. I think there's some. Okay, we have a few more copies here. Okay, so
Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for your time.
thank you very much. Yo.